Can you remember any time in Yankee history that the starting rotation has been so dominant from top to bottom? It's crazy. What is going on, everybody? I hope everybody is having a great day so far. My name is Dillard, bringing back another Yankee Way podcast. We haven't done one in quite some time, but we're going to go ahead and flip that script and do another one. There's been a lot of stuff that we have missed, that we haven't covered, but we're going to get down to that. First off, before we go ahead and get into it, how are you doing, my good friend or my good co-host, Mr. John?
Anytime we're winning is good for me. I don't care how it happens. Winning is the ultimate cure for all the lows.
Alrighty, so we talked about this for the podcast before we did the podcast, that there was a lot of things that I wanted to mention real quick right off the bat. So if you have anything to chime in on, definitely let me know and just chime in on it. Don't even hesitate. But since we have missed quite a bit, it's been about 3 weeks since we've done a podcast. I do apologize for that. There's been a bunch of stuff going on in my life, especially with me just recently graduating, so that's kind of the reason for it. But we should be good to go now. It should be at least once every week now. The consistency is going to hopefully go back to normal, as I hope. But let's check in with the standings, the offense, the pitching, even the defense, and just kind of go right through all of it. Standings. You got a 40-15 record, which is best in baseball. Awesome. A+. 22-8 in the last 30 games. Again, fantastic. Won yesterday versus Twins out of the 1-3 game series. Back-to-back sweeps against the Tigers and Angels. Split against the Rays. And a series win against the Orioles before. A rare series loss against the White Sox. So even though they had the rare series loss against White Sox, they picked it back up immediately and went right back to what they were doing before that series. You have 7 games in a 7-game lead in the East, which the second place team right now is the Blue Jays. The Rays are right behind them, and the Red Sox, the Red Sox still have quite a bit of a mountain to climb, but they are climbing the standings a little bit, not in terms of the Yankees. They really haven't gained much progress on the Yankees, but they have gained a little progress on the Blue Jays. Yeah, they haven't on the Yankees, but they've gained a little bit of progress on the Blue Jays and the Rays.
It's funny. The Red Sox are 7-3 in their last 10, and they've lost the game. They've moved back the game. That just tells you how hot the Yankees have been. I mean, extremely good team. They just got to keep pushing forward. I mean, they don't have to worry about too much. They've got a pretty substantial lead in the East. Just keep winning series, and you'll be good to go. So, outside of that, there's also a 108 run differential, which is incredible. Believe it or not, it's only the second best. The Dodgers actually have I'm not even kidding you, and I quote this, only 1+ run differential better than the Yankees. It's a 109 opposed to a 108. Not that big of a deal, but Yankees, incredible run differential. The pitching has been phenomenal. The offense has been phenomenal. Everything's been working on high gear. Everything is rotating very frequently. What is the term that I'm trying to say? All cylinders are firing. That's the phrase that I was trying to come up with. So here's the offense. Talked about the record a little bit. The offense. This is insane. This is insane, John. When I go through the offense and pitching, this is really insane. This is crazy. You got 83 home runs, which is first. You got 252 RBIs, which is sixth. A 9.7 walk percentage, which is third. 246 average, which is ninth. 324 on base percentage, which is fourth. 428 slugging, which is first. 752 OPS, which is second, only behind the Dodgers. And then you have a 119 WRC plus, which is also first. And then you have a 11.2 F4, which is third. If I'm not mistaken, the only teams who have a better F4 are the Dodgers and the Mets, which is not anybody's surprise or anything like that, because the Mets and Dodgers have both been very, very good baseball teams this year. But here's some other stats that I wanted to mention real quick. The pitching. The pitching is the part that honestly blows my mind more than anything. Are you ready for this? This is crazy. So you have 505 strikeouts, which is fourth. And then this is where it's just a spree of first. 131 walks, best in the league. 39 home runs, least in the league.
2.77 ERA, 3.05 FIP, 1.05 WHIP, and 3.29 SIERA. All of those are the best in the league at the very top. Then you have a 10.7 F4, which is also best in the league. And then if you look at all the starters, I mean, we could talk about the bullpen all day long, but let's just narrow it down to the starters. Not a single starter has an ERA in the fours. Barely even in the threes. You have Nestor with a one. You have Nestor with a
above 310.
Yeah, exactly. You have Nestor with a 1.50 ERA, which, AKA, is the best in the league. It's the best in the league right now. Then you have Jameson Taillon, Garrett Cole, and Luis Severino, 2.73 ERA, 2.73, 2.78, and 2.95. The worst guy in the rotation right now is Jordan Montgomery with a 3.02 ERA, literally a sub 3 ERA. That's the worst in rotation. Like, can you remember any time in Yankee history that the starting rotation has been so dominant from top to bottom? It's crazy. It's insane. And then you pile this on with the offense. And then here's another last thing before I go kind of too far. You have a defense that has a 25 DRS, defensive run save, which is 5th, and an ultimate zone rating of 6.7, which is 6th. The outs above average could be better, but like the defensive run saved in the ultimate zone rating is incredible. I mean, you're in the top portions, and even the outs above average, it's -1, but that's only 15th in the league, which is like literally average, like right in the middle of the lane, right in the middle.
Well, I feel like we have games like tonight, though, that happen. It's weird. We don't seem to have errors. Every once in a while, you'll see a team make an error. You'll be like, okay, it's just one error. But I feel like we have like a lot of games in a row where we make no errors, and then we have one game where we just make like 5 errors, and we're just like, what is happening? Like, what? Huh? Like tonight, where they had like 4 errors, you're just like, they had 3 actually. They changed it, but like, how does that even happen? Like, it feels like they just forgot to play defense tonight. I don't know what happened. That was really weird to watch.
IKF was having a lot of trouble at shortstop.
He might have been having trouble playing a field he's not familiar with. That could be the problem, but I don't know. We'll see.
But, I mean, that's not even a bad problem to have. I mean, when you're 5th in the league for defensive runs saved, I mean, that's phenomenal. That's that's so much better. That's so much significantly better than what we've been used to for quite some time. I mean, the defense is very different, especially from like Gleyber Torres, DJ LeMahieu, and Josh Donaldson. I mean, they all. I think Gleyber has 5 defensive runs saved, and then Josh Donaldson and Jose Trevino are tied with 6 defensive runs saved. But Gleyber and DJ have also been very good. And then here's something I want to talk about, because we haven't really talked about this at all in the podcast. I want to talk about some stuff differently than what we usually talk about. I want to talk about the fact that Trevino is in the 100th percentile for pitch framing. He has 3 framing runs, which is tied for 2nd, and he has a 52% strike rate, which is 1st. I mean, can we talk about how incredible his defense has been? Not only has Trevino's bat been productive, which is very, very rare out of the catching position. Obviously, he's going to come down that mountain. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. But even when it does, his defense is going to stay the same. His defense is always going to be top tier. And it's truly incredible. It's truly mind-boggling how amazing he's been. I mean, we knew what we were going to get from him when we knew that Trevino was with the Yankees, when the Yankees acquired him before the season started. We knew, just looking at his StatCast profile with the percentile of last year and such, that he was with pitch framing, that he knows how to frame pitches. He's good. He can steal strikes. He can steal outs for you. That's good. But it's just so incredible to finally see a catcher who frames and plays defense as dominantly as Trevino does. And it's incredibly refreshing. And I don't know, what are your thoughts about Trevino's framing, just his overall defense?
I feel like that he is. Well, I remember when we played the Rangers, everybody was raving about Jose Trevino when we played the Rangers. That was the series with I believe the Corey Kluber no-hitter, and we're like, man, I was like thinking to myself, like, I'd really like to have someone like that on our team. I mean, we've got Higashioka, but this guy puts Higashioka and makes him look silly, with how good he was at stealing strikes. And now we have him, and now it feels like a cheat code. It feels like we just get every call that we should be getting, and then it's like kind of shocking when we don't get a call. when you see like a ball go to the bottom of the zone and the umpire's like, nope, and you're just like, nah, I think that you're lying to yourself, man, because it's just the way he presents the ball is incredible. I mean, it's like what we tried to do with Gary last year by putting him on one knee and like doing that stuff. And I love like the team chemistry in the clubhouse. Like there was something I read. I want to see if I can try to find the article. I saw it on Twitter where they were talking about the team chemistry involving Trevino in the clubhouse, and where he was like talking about how, it was like Chapman pitched and he didn't have his good stuff, but he still got the job done. And Trevino was there talking about how like, it didn't have his good stuff, but we persevered and he showed grit and we got through it, and that's what we are all capable of. And I'm like, yeah, that's my guy right there. All of a sudden, Trevino has become not only a great player on the field, but also someone in the background who's a lot of players look up to and can aspire to, as someone who comes out every day and really shows up in a big way, in the biggest situations too. He's like our RSIP. He's our runners in scoring position god right now. He really is.
Yeah, I mean, actually, it's interesting that you talk about the piece with Trevino, because you're talking about you're talking about Chapman, and what I immediately thought about wasn't necessarily Trevino, but one of the one of the games that Chapman attempted to close out. I want to say it was against the White Sox. He did a really bad job. He got pulled out, and Anthony Rizzo was like one of the first people to greet him, and was like, it's okay, like just giving him like kind of like that pep talk. It's like, we all struggled, but it'll be okay in the end. I don't know if you know what game I'm talking about, but Rizzo was like the first one on the side, and he actually made Chapman laugh during the game, and it just kind of, the clubhouse chemistry, the energy is just so much different. I mean, with also Rizzo from last year and now this year with Rizzo, and then Trevino, it's just a totally different clubhouse, and it just seems like all the guys, every single one. I mean, maybe not Hicks, because Hicks as of late has played a lot better, but Hicks for the longest time, even if he was failing with runners in scoring position or striking out, or even if it was a robbery, or if you went back to StatCast and you saw that the expected batting average, you clearly saw from the high expected batting average that Hicks just can't catch a break. He keeps getting grogged, but even then it just feels like everybody...
No one gave him a pass.
Yeah, but it just feels like everybody in the clubhouse is having a good time, and even the guys that are struggling, the guys around them that are doing well, are all uniting around the people who are struggling and just reminding them that it's going to be okay. It's going to get better. And I wanted to talk to you about Gallo a little bit. One of my favorite followers on Twitter, his name's Ryan, and then it's like a parentheses in the lab. I have no idea what that means, but he pointed something out with Gallo's, basically his stance, his approach to the plate.
During the game.
Recently...
We both saw the same tweet, basically.
Yeah, but how recently Gallo has actually reverted back to his bat placement, where he was putting the bat when he was with the Texas Rangers, and he just started reverting back to that approach just recently, that batting stance. And it seems like since he reverted back to it, he's actually been seeing a lot better pitches. He's been able to get the bat on the ball a lot more frequently. He's working out the pitch count, and he's actually walked a lot more. I don't know if you've noticed this or not with his approach. Yeah. It's very slight, subtle difference, but he used to do it. And then for whatever reason, he stopped doing it, and now he's going back to that same approach.
He went to the open stance for a while. I don't know why. Maybe because he thought he could clear his hips a little easier. But, he went back to a more neutral stance and is just focused on, I guess, trying to hit the ball up the middle more. And it's just, been night and day. I mean, it's like, you watch it. He had a multi-hit game today. He was through the baseball, even on pitches outside the zone. It's simple. Like, in the 8th inning, you watch that at bat, where he just gets the ball in the outer half, and he just swings through it, straight through the ball, and the ball goes into left field, and then it's a run. That's all that I could ever ask for, is that he goes back to a place where he is successful. Oh, yeah, by the way, you know that Joey Gallo has a higher on-base percentage than Gleyber Torres right now.
Really?
I didn't know that. I just looked that up. They both have 288 OBPs right now. I didn't believe that, and I looked it up, and I'm like, oh, wow, that's shocking. First off, they're both dreadful OBPs, but still, it's kind of funny that that, I guess Glaber never walks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Very weird. But no, I did notice that. I didn't notice it, but until we saw the same tweet. But like, honestly, whatever the hitting coaches told him, like, go back to what's comfortable. And he used to hit like that in Texas. I don't know what made him get away from that. I don't know what made him go to such an open stance. I don't know. Maybe he wanted to force balls to the right field porch. Maybe. But getting away from what has been successful, I think that you have to go back to where you feel comfortable, and then you can kind of branch out and be like, okay, now I'm going to try to focus on hitting the ball to right more.
Hmm. And the good news is it's not just been Gallo who's been seemed like he's hitting back to where he was before. He's kind of coming back to himself, and the potential that you can see from Gallo, how much potential he's had.
He sees the ball better this way.
Yeah, exactly. But you also see Hicks. Hicks has seen a lot more pitches. Hicks is walking again. Hicks is having multi-hit games. I mean, Hicks looks good too. So this is just...
I'm hoping it continues. Just go back to where they feel comfortable. Don't do too much. Just play within yourself, and don't stress about hitting home runs, and the hits will come.
Exactly.
Easier said than done, but they just, you can't... What's the old phrase? It's like, I don't know, like you can't do something, you can't get over the mountain without first start. I don't know. It's some manner of expression that I can't remember, but it's like you can't get to the top until you start at the bottom or something silly.
Started at the bottom, now we're here kind of thing.
Yeah, you can't climb the whole mountain at once or something like that. You gotta kind of take it in pieces.
Baby steps.
Yeah.
Is that what you're looking for? Just climbing the mountain, just baby step, one step at a time kind of thing? Small steps forward,
yeah,
one step for man.
Yeah, just one small step, Neil.
Here's something else that I really want. Here's something else I really want to talk about with the offense, and particularly it is how outrageously good, and I don't even think outrageously good is a big enough phrase to accurately describe how ridiculously insane big Aaron Judge, Mr. 99, has been this season. I mean, he's on pace to blow his 2017 numbers out of the water. It's insane how amazing he's been.
I don't mean to bash people when they're down, but I mean, if Mike Trout is going to miss a significant amount of time right now because he just got hurt, we don't know what his condition's like. If he is going to miss a significant amount of time, who is standing in his way right now from just walking away with this MVP award? Maybe Alvarez, but like, who is in the American League who's going to get in his way?
Right off the top of my head, I think probably the closest I can think of off the top of my head would probably be Jose Ramirez. Right off the top of my head, Jose Ramirez, I think can compete for that spot. Obviously, Ohtani is always going to have that position because he hits and he pitches, so that kind of comes with the territory of that. But I actually have seen that Rafael Devers has been extremely good, like very good this year too. Not as good as Aaron Judge, but he's also put up very respectable numbers too. So Devers, it's a possibility.
Well, we're not gonna go into their numbers, I guess. That's for a different video. But I was just like, the list is definitely not as pretty. J-Ram is really good, but like, and Yordan's really good too. I could see Devers maybe too.
I think the only problem with Yordan is that he's a DH and he doesn't play defense, which probably would hurt his value, if anything. But I mean,
he plays solid defense. That's the thing. We know he plays for great defense.
If Yordan could be even an average defender, that would help him out significantly with the MVP race because he's obviously got the bat. He's got the bat. I mean, that man is dangerous. If you ever look at his StatCaps profile, it's crazy. If you look at his his expected slugging against not just fastballs, actually for whatever reason, his expected slugging against fastballs is way worse than it is against breaking pitches and off-speed pitches. It's crazy. He hits breaking pitches and off-speed pitches like no other. But
I don't think Judge continues this pace. Obviously, I don't think this is a very sustainable pace because at some point, someone's gonna say, "That's it. We're just not going to pitch to you anymore. We would rather pitch to the people around you than pitch to you." And I think that at some point the straw is going to break the camel's back because right now he leads, I think, the American League in runs, home runs, slugging percentage, OPS plus. And I logged onto BBREF to see his DRS and UZR, but I got caught up in those numbers, and now my BBREF is like having a struggle bus.
Mm-hmm.
But if he can just continue, I don't even think that playing at a 200 OPS plus is sustainable. I mean, that's literally Barry Bonds territory, and Juan Soto territory, and my thing just broke. I'm trying to look for defense. I don't know. Do you have his UZR up somewhere that I could?
To be honest with you, that was not even something that I put up. I was more just focused on his offensive metrics.
Here we go. I got it. Okay, so his defensive, well, he's got negative DRS right now according to this page, but I don't know. Sure, that'll change.
I think in a larger sample size, he's not going to have anything in the negative range with anything defensively. I just don't see it. He's too elite of a defender.
Over the long run, I think it'll change.
Mm-hmm. And defensive metrics are...
Everyone else just played amazing so far. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. There's just been... the play in center field in the American League is pretty solid, to say the least. Well,
I was going to say, pretty much... I don't even think I have to say it anymore because you said it. I was going to mention like 22 home runs. Obviously, that's first in the league. Slugging.
Is an ungodly pace,
especially.
It is just incredible.
Good slugging, good OPS.
Incredible.
He's actually the only player in the league that has a WRC plus above 200. He has exactly a 203. I'm pretty sure the next closest to him is, last time I checked, Jose Ramirez with 190. So he's like a full 13 points above the second place guy for WRC plus. Not just in that's not just like in the American League, or that's just the league in general, So that's just, it's crazy. It's crazy. And then he has a 3.4 F4, which is, it's third in the league. But if we're taking in fact MVP, because obviously you're not competing with people in the National League, those two people who are above him is Mookie Betts and Manny Machado, so he doesn't have to worry about them. So that means he does have the best F4 in the American League. Who's right behind him by 0.1, which is just almost completely... What's the word I'm looking for? It's too small of a margin to make a big difference about. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's like a 0.1 win is, maybe in hindsight, like it means a lot, obviously, and every win counts. But when you're doing like MVP voting, it's such a small margin that you're going to look at everything else.
Depends a lot on other things rather than just flat out numbers. But just like this is what we've wanted to see from him going back to that 2017 season again. It's just been like the numbers just jump out. Like his strikeout numbers are down. His home runs are back up again. He is on pace to drive in 124 runs, which he's never done. Like that's more than he drove in 2017. He's on pace to strike out only 171 times this year, which is drastically lower than any rate he's been on so far. He struck out 152 times in less than 500 ABs. If you take his career average, 162 average of 588 ABs, he is on pace to only strike out 171 times. 65 home runs, driving 124 runs. Like, just unfathomable numbers. And we all agreed at the time, because we're obviously biased and we like the numbers, but we thought he deserved the MVP in 17. And so far, the numbers are somehow even better than that year, which is just unbelievable. And, I didn't think it was possible for him to achieve those numbers again, but so far, so good. And we'll see if that pace is sustainable. But you and I both know that, people will go into slumps eventually, but it's scary to think that he has could have another gear in him, maybe? Think about it. He hasn't started walking yet. People, once they start walking him, he's just going to be like, okay, I'll just take a base, start stealing bases.
He can do that, too. He's shown that he can steal bases. Man. Aaron Judge is just... like I said, I can't even... Like, even the numbers don't do him justice. Just everything else that he can do that you don't see on the scorecard. Like, for example, how many pitches that he can work out an account.
He does
and get on base.
He affects the whole lineup. Because people are not going to want to pitch... They're going to want to pitch the DJ in front of him. I remember on the radio, I remember hearing a lot of people complain about Aaron Judge. They're like, we should bat him third instead of second. And I'm like, you're going to take that bat away from him? Like, you're taking at bats away from him. You want your best player to bat second. This is such a weird thing that people don't get. Like, you want your best batter to get the most at bats. So where do you put him? Lead off, second. You're losing at bats by batting him third. But you're guaranteeing the guy in front of him, which is DJ, is going to get a pitch to hit because they don't want to walk DJ. They want to challenge DJ because if you walk DJ, there's a 100% chance of getting on base. But even if he's only hitting, if he's hitting 330, there's a 30% chance of him getting on base from hitting it. I like those numbers. You throw it down the middle and say, okay, here you go. Good luck. So you're affecting the person in front of him, and then when he's backed up with Rizzo and Stanton, who both are right now in the mix of the top home run hitters in the American League. That is terrifying. And then you're batting an ex-MVP candidate fifth, and then a guy who can challenge Alfonso Soriano sixth or something like that. Like, it's unbelievable. I remember I said at the beginning of the year I like this team, and I think a lot of people were down on this team because they didn't get Correa. And honestly, this has been like a crazy fun ride to me.
Yeah, fourth place, right? As everyone was telling the Yankees, fourth place.
Look, I mean, they've been 40-15 is unsustainable in my opinion. That is crazy baseball. At some point, you're going to get into a real. We've been very lucky. The Angels were very hot, and we caught them on the way down. I thought Detroit would be pretty good this year with their hitters and their pitchers. Unfortunately, they seem to have built their stadium on some burial ground. And now we have to somehow find a way through this month coming up where we're going to be playing Boston and a lot of division games where this lead can disappear in a heartbeat. We all know that. So, it's good to get such a lead now so that way we don't have to worry about it. But we'll see what happens in the next coming months. I don't think this is sustainable. I don't think this team's winning 120 games. I'm sorry. But I could definitely see them getting over 100 pretty easily.
Yeah, I could see that easily too. I actually wanted to ask you.
How many games are left? 106? They played 55, so what, 107? So they only have to win 60 of 107, so that's sub 600 baseball the rest of the way to win 100 games. That is easily doable.
I wanted to ask you one last question before we go ahead and end off the podcast. What did you think about Aaron Judge leading off when he hit a home run?
Oh, man, dude. A lot of people, again, this goes back to the same argument. People are like, why would you bat Aaron Judge first in this lineup? And I'm like, look, I know he's your power guy and he's driving in a bunch of people, but look, there is so many people on this team that can drive in runners. There are so many people. Like, even if Aaron Judge is not in the lineup, you've got Giancarlo, and you've got Rizzo, and you've got an ex-MVP in Giancarlo. You've got Rizzo, who is very adept at hitting the right field porch. You've got an MVP in Josh Donaldson. You've got Gleyber Torres. Like, you've got people who I know can put the ball in play and will drive in runs. So why I'm looking this up right now. I just want to get this number real quick. So who do you put leadoff on your team when you want to what's the word I'm thinking of? When you want to get runners on at the top of your order, you put the guy with the highest OBP first. Aaron Judge's OBP is 382. Like, it's clear and far away the best guy that I want to be in leadoff spot. It just, it's unfortunate that it's kind of handcuffing you with your best home run hitter is now your leadoff guy, but you got a 300 hitter who has almost a 400 OBP. I think it makes a lot of sense to bat him leadoff. So, I don't know. It's just weird to me that people are like, how could you possibly bat Aaron Judge leadoff? Like, it makes a lot of sense to me because his numbers are, if you ignore the home runs, that's a great leadoff hitter. And I'm pretty sure Yankee teams of the old used to put their power hitter in the 1 spot or the 2 spot. Like, they used to do that. I don't know how long ago that was. It makes a lot of sense. You also get Judge an extra at-bat and later on in the game. Like, you average more at-bats per year in a leadoff spot. It just, you want your best hitter being up the most. It's just, I like that. So, I'm cool with it. and he likes it too. So whatever makes him happy.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you on everything you just said. But in an ultimate universe, though, in terms of where I definitely mostly want him to be at, it's definitely number 2.
Who leads this team in walks?
Would it be Aaron Judge? It is Aaron Judge. It is Aaron Judge. It has to be.
Aaron Judge leads this team in walks. Who leads this team in hits? Aaron Judge. Who leads this team in runs? Aaron Judge. I mean, if you ignore the home runs that he hits, I understand. And, you know, it's also funny because people are like, oh, but Aaron Judge hits home runs. You want the most number of people on base for him when he hits home runs. I have a news flash for you. He has 21 home runs, or he has 22 home runs. Coming in today, he only has 42 RBIs. So, like, if you take into account the fact that he drove in himself 21 times, he only has 21 other RBIs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, he's not even driving anybody in anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, he usually hits solo home runs. So, that's why I can kind of be like, no one's on base for him anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Might as well let him lead off.
This was one of the more rare occasions where DJ LeMahieu got on to lead off the game, and then Aaron Judge flies to center field all a long way. I think like 425 feet or something like that.
I think that also it has to do with the fact that when there's somebody on base, people are very careful with Aaron Judge. They do not want to throw him a pitch up in the zone. Whereas if he's on base, it's the old, oh, what's the worst he's going to do? He's going to hit a solo home run. I don't care. You know, here's the pitch. Try to hit it. And a lot of times he does because they do not want to give in to him when there's people on base because they know, you know, you can live through a couple of solo shots, but the 3-run home runs are killers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and did you see that one changeup that Judge struck out on today?
Ugh.
It was filthy. That is one of the filthiest.
That's how you're gonna get him out.
That's filthy.
Gonna get him out. You know, you got to throw him something nasty. You know, you've got to throw a pitch that's looks like a strike for a very long time, and you got to get it down, or else he's gonna find a way. Like he plays with like a massive bat. You know, you're gonna really need to get that ball down out of the way, so that way he can't make contact with it and foul it off. You know, it's a great job, a great pitch. You got to get great hitters out by making great pitches, and that's just a good pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing you can do with it.
Yeah.
Better look ahead to the other parts of the count where they're going to throw you a hittable pitch. And that's why people are like, why would you swing at the first pitch? Once you might only get one good pitch to hit. You better not miss it because they're not going to throw you another good one.
Mm-hmm.
And the first pitch is usually really good. Someone wants to get ahead. They don't want to get behind you.
I mean,
just ahead in the count, he is a monster.
I mean, just ask George Springer. I mean, ask him how many first pitches he swings at and what happens. I mean, all the leadoff home runs he has.
I forget what it was. We're going off the beaten path here for a minute, but there was like a study of how often a pitcher's first pitch in the game is a fastball, and it was like Masahiro Tanaka was one of the biggest deviations from that trend. He almost, like, a lot of the times would purposely not throw a fastball for the first pitch of the game because he knew that people would try to jump him on the first pitch like Springer does, and we saw DJ and we saw Judge do it the other day too. He just jumped on the first pitch. He's like, he's going to throw me a fastball. I'm swinging at it, you know, and he hit it a long way, and that was it. We never looked back that game. So a lot of the times in the at-bat, pitcher wants to throw strike one, get ahead. That's your best pitch to hit. You know, there's a good chance he's going to be in the zone, and I don't mind him swinging for it. Like we used to see Luke Voigt do it too. He knew it. Anyway, that's my rant. People are like, why take pitches? And I'm like, in some situations, yes, but if he's filling strike zone up, you might as well just swing at the first pitch. You know, you might as well.
Yeah, I mean, really the only thing that, like, irritates me to a certain extent is when you have, like, bases loaded, and it's, like, 2 outs, and you have someone who can, like, obviously work out a walk, like Gleyber Torres, and you have a 3-0 pitch, and I mean, if it's right down the middle, if you have the green light, go for it, okay? If you have the green light, go for it. It's right down the middle, whatever.
I think Gleyber subscribes to this notion, too, of when you think there's a fastball in a fastball count, you just sell out for it. And I think that in some situations I like it, but in some situations like you mentioned when there's the bases loaded, I don't need a grand slam. Just put the ball in play. You don't have to do too much. I'm not looking for a 5-run home run. Just put the ball in the outfield.
It's kind of like what DJ did today. I mean, he had a bases loaded walk. I mean, that's all you can ask for. That brings in a run. That is literally just as good.
Pass the baton to your next hitter, which is potentially the AL MVP, Aaron Judge, who unfortunately couldn't do anything with it. But hey, it's baseball. If we just ran on stats, we wouldn't play the games.
But like I was gonna say, like with DJ LeMahieu and the bases loaded walk, I mean, a bases loaded walk bringing in 1 run is literally the same thing as an RBI single. Like, a shallow hit into the outfield where only 1 runner can score with bases loaded. Right. But I was kind of going back to the Glaber thing, which if you have the green light and it's right down the middle, go for it. But I absolutely get so incredibly irritated when it's 3-0 count and Glaber, for example, because he's done it several times, swings at a pitch that's not even in the zone and then he pops it up in the infield. And I'm like,
it's the Gary Sanchez effect. You're like, you read fastball out of the hand and you're just like, you're sitting dead red and you're just like, yes, this is my moment. And then next thing you know, the ball's on the ground, and you look like a fool.
Mm-hmm. Take your walks. Take your walks.
Tough sport, apparently.
Need to encourage people to take their walks. Walks are good. They're awesome. They matter.
Sexy. Walks are not sexy, but you know what is sexy is free runs. That's really sexy. I don't know if there's really anything else for me to really bang on about. I thought They've been hitting well. I think that it's incredible to me. I don't know if you've seen this. They've turned into the Astros in the sense that they have suddenly figured out this ability on how to read pitchers when they're tipping pitches. Like, we remember the Astros who absolutely took Tyler Glasnow behind the woodshed and just beat him to death because he was tipping pitches in the playoffs. And I mean, we did it to that rookie and the Tigers. I mean, I can't fathom how they figured that out. The man's made 3 major league starts and they figured this out. It's unbelievable. And I don't know if you noticed this too, but when you see someone have a bad at bat, you watch them go to the dugout and they don't just sit there and sulk. They just pull the iPod out and they're looking at it. They're like, all right, why am I going to end up on Pitching Ninja tonight for that sword? And why, and what can I do better? And you watch like Judge and Rizzo talking about pitching. Like, I don't know. It just seems like this team is so enamored with the technical side of the game. And I love it. It's like a couple of years ago, we would watch them play a game and they would look hopeless the first time through the order. And then the second time through the order came, they would just be like, double, single, home run, walk. And you're just like, oh my God, this pitcher's not going to make it out of the 3rd inning. Because they would just watch what he would do and would learn from it and would come back with a plan, and they would just be unstoppable at that point. Like, once they put the plan into motion. Like, that's what I feel like this team is now. Second time and third time through the order, they're lethal because they know what they're looking for at that point. And the other pitcher most often doesn't have an answer for it.
Basically adapt to the scenario. I mean, they adapt on the fly. I mean, it doesn't take very long for them to figure a pitcher out.
They are taking a lot of pride in their preparations for the game. There was a story on the radio today. They were talking about how an unnamed player walked into the Mets clubhouse an hour before game time, and there's people playing ping pong in the clubhouse and just having fun. No one's talking about the game. And I feel like this clubhouse is the opposite of that. And that's the old clubhouse. That's before Showalter and all those people. But this team seems to take a lot of pride in their preparation, and it shows. And they have found a winning way through this preparation that is clearly repeatable, and they are taking a lot of advantage of other teams not preparing as much as they are, and they seem to take a lot of pride in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically, I was actually going to mention the whole 8-minute not too much about it because obviously the podcast is going a little longer than usual, but the whole 8-minute breakdown that John Boy made about the whole tipping the pitches is just
it's
incredible. It's crazy.
Don't know how they saw that, but they figured it out real fast. And the bigger question is when did they start doing this, and how did they start doing this? Like, who was the catalyst for this? Because they didn't used to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Marvin Gonzalez, who came from the Astros, who were really good at picking up on tipping? Was it Matt Carpenter? Is it Trevino? Like, who is the person who is figuring this out? Is it a collective? Is it an individual? Is it video work? I don't know. And I'm sure they'll never admit it, but it's been incredible to watch that they can figure out something so minor and exploit it. It's incredible.
Yeah, and I was actually going to mention there was some speculation on, obviously with the whole Tiger situation, but also the series before when Ohtani pitched, and there were a lot of people thinking, well, how in the heck is Ohtani not getting any swings and misses? I mean, if you look at the StatCast profile,
Syndergaard too.
He was getting
unbelievable.
I mean, specifically, with Noah too, but Ohtani specifically, a lot of pitches, really high velocities, good fastballs, and just in general, really, he was reaching 100 miles per hour multiple times. But if you look at the StatCast profile, you look at the amount of pitches to the amount of swings and misses, and it's just the pitches are up there and the swing and misses are down here, and it's incredible.
I don't think he was tipping. I think that's a really easy excuse. But I think that what they saw is that they're like, okay, he cannot throw a slider for a strike. He cannot throw a splitter for a strike. He's just got a fastball. If that ball is up in the zone, you can swing to right field, be on time for the fastball and drive it to right. Or if it's a slider, you just hit it to left like Judge does, and it's gone. He could not throw any of his secondary pitches for strikes. He was only fastball, and at that point, that's a very dangerous position because you don't need to put a great swing on his fastball. It's high enough velocity that they are going to drive that ball. It's just the physics of it make it that ball is going to travel a long way. Especially on a hot day, that ball is going a mile, and it was going a mile. So I think they had a good plan. They were very patient. They realized early on they did not have his secondary pitches, and they just went to town on him. Like professional.
Yeah. I don't think it's out of the question. Maybe there is a possibility that Ohtani was tipping his pitches, but it also I think it's also I think what also needs to be recognized is the Yankees just had a very good approach at the plate. Again, they were working out the count. They were working up the pitch count, and also they recognized, like you said, Ohtani usually he's on. I mean, we've seen how good he can be when he's on. I mean, he did it in Boston not too long ago. He's done it many times.
Very good pitcher. A lot of respect.
But you got to give the Yankees a lot of credit for not having a lot of swings and misses, even when he does have that velocity. But also, you just have to admit that Ohtani also wasn't on his game like he usually was. He wasn't locating his splitter and locating his slider as he usually does. So you got to give a lot of credit to the Yankees. I mean, I don't want to just be like, oh, it was just tipping his pitches as an excuse. No, the Yankees just had a good approach to the plate, and they learned him really quickly, and they capitalized on his mistakes. That's all there is to it.
I didn't look at the StatCast or the Savant data from the game, but I mean, at some point, the one time, so going back to the past, when you saw people hit Tanaka, it was when he couldn't throw the low fastball because they would say to themselves, the only pitches that he's going to throw at the bottom of the zone is going to be a splitter and a slider, and if you see that pitch low in the zone and he cannot get the fastball down there, just don't swing at it because the ball can't rise. So. And that was the only time Tanaka would get hit is when he couldn't locate the fastball in the right spot. And I think that Ohtani is very similar to Tanaka in that situation, where he relies on the swing and miss on the splitter and the slider and the fastball up in the zone. And we're pretty good at not swinging at the fastball high. We're very good at that. And when you cannot locate those secondary pitches in the zone and you see a low pitch come out of his hand, you're like, okay, no thanks. And you can do that early in the count, late in the count. They were fouling off a lot of pitches, so they were just taking weak hacks at it, shorting up. Their great plan. I mean, I think that's the textbook way that you need to attack Ohtani as a pitcher.
And right before we close this podcast, can we all see what your shirt is? I have a rough estimate of what it is.
Yeah. It's the Squidward's Hopes and Dreams shirt.
So is that an accurate representation of the Angels right now in their last 13 games?
Yeah, probably. You know what's crazy to me is the Angels have lost 13 games in a row. The Angels have lost 13 games in a row, and the Yankees have lost 15 games in 2 months. It's kind of unbelievable what this start has been. It's incredible. I hope that I listen to the radio every day. I hear people complaining about Joey Gallo. I hear people complaining about this and that, and I'm just like, I'm here. I'm enjoying the ride. It's great. It's a lot of fun. Wake up every day and you just win every day. You have a chance to win every day. Extremely happy about that. So I'm not going to bash. First off, Joey Gallo is coming out of this right now, but there's not much you can complain about. You know, you got Zach Britton coming back. You've got I think Loaiza's visiting family in Nicaragua right now.
Yeah, he's got family issues right now.
So hopefully all that comes around. Miguel Andujar will be coming back shortly. I know he will. Look, I know. We didn't talk about this. Miguel Andujar, I feel so bad for the guy. He deserves to be in the majors. I think it's a little bit much to say that he deserves to be in the majors more than Joey Gallo does. Joey Gallo's paid his debts already in terms of sitting through the minors and sitting around not playing for a long time. I think it's unfair. I think at some point Andujar just needs to realize that, like, he can say that you guys aren't giving me a chance, but they've given him a lot of chances when he wasn't doing that well or when he was hurt. They could have cut him. They could have traded him. They didn't. They believed in him. They gave him more chances, and now they just need him to be like, look, we gave you chances. Give us a chance to find you a spot to play, and we'll find you a spot to play, because he's probably the first one up because Florial's not hitting. So as soon as there's a spot on the rotation, or we'll send a pitcher down, we'll bring him back up, and he'll be back up, and he will be here playing. Especially when rosters expand in October, he'll be back. So he just needs to hang in there. I promise, it's coming. I know it's hard to believe, but it's coming.
All right, well, that's about it. We've done quite a bit and talked about quite a bit on this podcast. But if you guys did enjoy the podcast, definitely subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell notification so you don't miss a video. Like the video, comment below on what we can do better and what you would like us to talk about in the future. And we will see you guys on the next podcast.